Hello and welcome to another episode of the AutoTrader Podcast. My name is Wandile Sishi.
And I'm George Mienie.
And we have something super exciting to talk about today. We're always talking about buying and selling. But today we'll be talking about a different part of buying and selling. But before we get into that, what do you think about the race in France?
I don't know whether to believe Leclerc.
Believe me. Because I said it. I've been saying it for 3 weeks now.
No, but hold on. Let me first kind of
Okay.
have my say.
Okay, I'm sorry. I jumped in there.
Yes. So I don't know whether I believe Leclerc,
Yeah.
and or whether he was covering for the team.
Are you talking about the throttle issue?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know. I haven't read anything in the last day or two as to whether anything came up, but it was very weird that in that moment of frustration, he mentions the throttle.
Yeah.
Okay. And then suddenly in the interview, oh no, totally his fault. Totally flipping, overdid it, underestimated the corner.
I think it's both. So I think what happened was he made a mistake and then he got wedged and then the throttle issue couldn't get him out of it. So the initial impact or the initial sort of scenario in lap 18, I think was because of him only. And then he couldn't kind of escape because the throttle issue was happening.
You think the throttle issue only happened at the crash?
No.
Like when he was stuck there?
No, he's been complaining about it pretty much
so
the whole
then why
weekend.
wouldn't it have caused the crash?
Because the initial mistake was not because of a throttle issue. It's, it was because of his own...
Is that proven?
Well, he said it.
Yeah, he said it, but that's why I say, was he covering for the team?
No, I think this is not the first time he does this. This is a constant kind of mistake that Leclerc's been making for years. He always tries to push the car too much and he doesn't know the limits of the kind of where the braking points is. And that's the reason why I think he's essentially just handing the championship to Red Bull and Verstappen because he's just not there. But let's go a few years and we used to talk about the same thing about Verstappen. He used to make the same mistakes as well.
Well, Verstappen was just for crashing.
Yeah, he was,
He didn't make mistakes. He just flipping went.
Yeah.
I think Leclerc is probably half of Verstappen's, angst like over egging it.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he's just a rookie.
I think he's
in a really, really like capable car.
For sure. We've seen this with pretty much every championship or every champion, except of course.
I wonder what Hamilton would do in that car.
He would win naturally. But I was having a conversation with one of my friends and I was saying, Verstappen kind of trained with he was training essentially last year on how to be a champion. And now he's so good that he just doesn't make any mistakes ever. It's insane to see now that he's become this perfect driver. And I think Leclerc still has a long way to go before he's a challenger. Yeah,
I mean, I think maybe Leclerc should have joined the Ferrari team a year before he did.
Yeah.
And
or have a competitive car last year and then at least
take it on the chin now. No, even without a competitive car, you're still learning.
Yeah, for sure.
Look at Lando Norris.
Yeah,
I'm starting to want to support Norris because of
he's driving the pants out of that car. Yeah,
he's driving. That's
crazy.
And he's kicking Ricciardo like properly to the curb.
Yeah, I think Ricciardo's like given up as well. Like it's kind of sad to see. Like
I think Ricciardo is better than that.
Yeah, he's
definitely better than that.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a case of maybe he's mentally been kind of taken out.
For sure. But Carlos Sainz as well, Ferrari's strategy was just so strange in terms of pitting him after, he got the position from Perez. That was very strange. And, they kind of saying, Ferrari's saying that, no, it was the right thing to do. But I really disagree with that. I think Sainz had a chance of really getting at least on the podium.
You think?
I think so. His tires were kind of worn, but man, what a drive. I mean, he really showed us what the Ferrari can do.
He really did. He really did. He's not as fast as Leclerc, but maybe Leclerc's driving the car over the limit.
Exactly. I think as Sainz really understands it. I mean, he's telling the team what to do, which is strange. I think he needs to stop doing that. It sends a bad message to the rest of the team, but he's fantastic, and I think he's definitely the man for the job.
Yeah. What's happening with Mick Schumacher? I mean,
what do you mean what's happening?
I keep rooting for the guy because of his dad.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a mistake. Like he does well, and then I think like Leclerc, he just makes a mistake. And maybe it's not a bad thing actually. Maybe he is a future champion, and this is his training ground.
Well, Magnussen is outshining him.
No, but that's because of his mistakes.
Yeah, sure, and Magnussen's experience as well.
Yeah, and Magnussen's got experience. But if you really look at when Schumacher pulls a rabbit out of a hat, he's faster than Magnussen. And then he stuffs up and he crashes out, or he spins off, or something happens.
For sure.
Almost like a Leclerc situation in that car. So I keep rooting for him, and I'm like, slid off the track again.
Yeah. But Mercedes 2 and 3, super happy about that.
Well done. I'm not going to.
What are we going to say?
I'm not going to give you gears about that. That was a good drive.
It was. I think the team did really well, and we're always going to pick up the pieces as soon as Ferrari just hands it to us. We're always going to be like,
I'm saying good things about Mercedes, and you're just
I'm just going to run with it. I won't lie to you. There's no modesty here. We'll take it. Producer's busy. He's got some words for me later, but it's okay.
There's a back-to-back race this weekend, eh?
Yes, we're going to Hungaroring, which is Budapest. So it's going to be super interesting.
It's a tighter track.
Yeah, and then it's a long break.
Which Ferrari's good on.
Lots of straights.
Yeah, well, there's lots of straights, but the a French Grand Prix has got lots of straights compared to Hungaroring or any other track for that matter. I mean, look at those straights where
I've never been a fan of the French Grand Prix, but this year was.
It's not on the calendar in the future, eh? I wonder if South Africa is not going to replace it.
I hope it does. There's been lots of whispers and lots of rumors and lots of fake news out there, but I'm pretty certain that we're going to be. Maybe we'll have Hamilton in here, and We'll see what you can do there, George, please. I beg you. Anyways, we can go on and on about Formula One, but let's talk about auction versus privacy. Have you ever been to an auction house before? Have you ever bought a car?
I've never bought a car at an auction, but I've been to a car auction before.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of them. Most auctions nowadays have moved offline and gone online.
Yeah.
Most auctions have moved online.
Do you think there's a difference between the experience you get as a result of that in terms of like intimidation specifically and the mindset of like, if you're not a dealership and someone who's not experienced as a first time auction buyer, do you recommend going the online route first and then potentially going into physical? Or
I think both of them have one downside. And it is... I think an online auction is slightly different. I'll explain why in a second. But I think both of them are designed to drive the price as high as possible. Okay, so auctions are designed to naturally drive the price to almost retail.
Okay,
or to retail.
Yeah,
especially if the consumer is allowed to attend. Okay, so you get some auctions where it is only the trade allowed to attend. Then those bidders are going to bid the car up to, where they can still make a profit on it.
Well, that's the big difference, right? A consumer doesn't have to think about reselling.
Yes.
So they don't have to, kind of account for that.
So in many instances, the consumer will overpay for a car in an auction because there's emotion involved. Whereas a businessman might not have emotion involved in, he'll have his top end and that's what he'll pay. That's it. In today's market, though, with a buoyant used car market and prices rising for used cars because of all the silicon chip and new car downward stock pressure, dealers even are overpaying for cars. So the auctions are a recipe for overpaying. I think at the moment it's a recipe for overpaying as well, even more so than it was in the past.
Well, it's interesting you say that. So one of the advantages that we want to talk about is, on average, approximately 30%. If you go to an auction house, one of the advantages of going there is that you would approximately get about 30% less than retail from a dealership. So you're saying that that's probably not the case anymore?
I'm not so sure, because do you really think that dealers are going to not be there?
They're going to be there.
Of course they're going to be there.
Yeah.
And they're more than likely going to outbid you.
Yes.
Unless you're prepared to go to retail. Remember, it's an auction.
But I mean, that's kind of, as a consumer, as just like a private consumer, that's kind of where you also have.
I don't believe the 30%.
Yeah.
It just instinctively being,
Well, this 30% is across the board. It's not like just like passenger cars. This is like across everything.
Yeah.
Rex, the works.
I'm not so sure. I mean, dealerships don't even make 30% on the front end of a car.
Yeah.
Very, very few and far between do they make that kind of margin.
Mm.
So if you're going to get the car for 30% less than you'll get with a private sale, that means what the marketing material is telling you is that there's a 30% margin in the car.
Exactly.
Because private sale is retail.
I mean, there's research, so I didn't do it myself, but this is a approximate
of what people are saying.
What people are saying.
Yeah, I don't buy that. Dealers don't make 30% margins on used cars.
Yeah.
A new car even less, but new cars don't get auctioned.
So in terms of, in your experience, then what would be the price advantage of going to an auction house for? I
don't think there is one right now.
Consumer, yeah.
I just don't think there is one, because if you're a consumer and you go to an auction, right?
Yeah.
First of all, you buy the car as it is. Yeah. There's no recourse, recon costs, nothing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's one risk you're taking. Second of all, you have to inspect the car there.
Yes.
And very often you can't take it for a test drive. Very few auctions allow you to drive the car. I think second of all, there are going to be trade people, dealers, that are going to be bidding against you.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to take the price all the way to retail, but you might.
Mm.
Now you're going to buy a car close to retail, right?
You've never test driven it. There's no warranty.
There's no warranty unless sometimes you can buy one.
Okay. You can buy one there.
You can buy one there.
Okay.
But and then the last thing is, you're not buying from a dealer that you have recourse against.
It's as is.
You're buying it as it is.
Yeah. So something else that I think people should just be aware of is sometimes there can be some shady business happening at auction houses, which just the car might just be completely.
Well, I mean, let's not blame the auction business, because I don't think that they purposefully would put a car up for sale on an auction and know that it is defective. I mean, would just be shady, and
also the business would not.
I wouldn't think the business would survive.
Exactly.
Okay, with that mindset. But you've got to understand what that kind of business is. Is it buys a car or defleets a car from somewhere and it sells it as it is. It passes the risk on. To the end consumer or to whoever's buying the car.
Yeah.
So I don't think the auction houses purposefully put up lemons.
No, for sure.
But there is a chance you can buy a lemon.
For sure.
There's a higher chance you can buy a lemon from an auction versus a dealership.
100%. But that's kind of you kind of spoke about the fact that some of the vehicles could be like from a fleet, and that's one of the advantages of auction houses, that the variety is there.
Yeah.
And you can get a vehicle which comes from like a business or, where the car has been
where it's revved like a rental.
Exactly. But, it's still in decent condition, low mileage, and,
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna potentially pick up something. But again, do you really think the trade and the dealer's not there seeing the same thing?
And they have experience, right?
They've got much more experience than you. If a dealer's not bidding that price up, be careful.
Yes.
They know something you don't.
Yeah. Okay. That's I think that's a really good point. So there's a few kind of tips that you can use.
Yeah. When you walk into the auction, find a dealer, go make friends with him.
Yeah.
Talk to him about the general, and stand next to him.
Stand next to him, yeah. Every time he puts up his hand.
When he puts up his hand and you wanna bid 1,000 Rand more, bid 1,000 Rand more. If he doesn't go up above that, take the car for 1,000 Rand more.
Okay. No, that's first tip, make a friend with a dealer.
Yes.
and just watch him, talk to him about F1 and then add 1 Rand after.
If he's a Hamilton supporter, do not believe him.
So some of the tips that we want to just give. So basically the first one is just deal with auction houses which are reputable. This one is kind of a no-brainer.
So we've been talking about physical auctions, right?
These are physical
auctions, yeah. We haven't spoken about online auctions.
Yes.
Now, online auctions mainly happen in the trade environment. Very few and far between in the consumer environment, but mainly in the trade environment you have online auctions.
Yeah.
The downside of the of an online auction is that dealers wait till the last minute to bid.
Yeah.
Okay. So the trade waits till the last. We found it. We tested it with our product instant offer.
Yes.
It started out being an auction product.
Yeah.
Okay. Dealers wait till the last minute.
Yeah. The price is going to be super low then, because there's no like.
No, and then they bid against each other. They bid, and then and then the price skyrockets, right?
Yeah, instantly.
And then sometimes the dealer overpays. Okay, so it's a race it's a race to retail in the last 10 minutes. And it's not ideal.
For who? The seller or for the buyer?
For both. Well, I mean, I suppose for the seller it's good because the price gets to the highest price. But for the buyer, it's not necessarily good.
100%. Okay, the next tip we want to give is, if you're going to go to an auction house physical one, go first as an observer. Like, don't go and
bid. Understand it.
Understand the business, because like George is saying, there's a lot of people there who have a lot more experience than you would. And then you're just going to be bidding with your emotions, and that's not what you want to do if you want to really kind of win.
Well, you get time to check out the cars beforehand, right?
That's tip 3. Is actually go and check it out.
Yeah, they open up the floor and you can go and look at the cars. You can inspect them, open the bonnet. In many instances, I think even start the car. You can't drive it though.
Yeah.
And inspect it. So
on an online auction, then you obviously you don't have that.
You don't have that luxury. That's why it's less frequented by consumers, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And more frequented by dealers.
For sure.
But then again, sometimes the online auctions, the final step of sealing the deal is the inspection, and then the car's taken. So after you kind of make your bid, what if you do find an issue afterwards? Well, then you can raise it as a material issue in some auction cases, and then dispute the bid, but it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. Tip 5. So most auction houses, well, not most, but specifically the bank ones, they do supply a condition reports. And we did an episode, I think, last week about condition reports.
Well, again, so the condition report needs to be, like we said, and if you haven't watched last week's episode, click here or click here. I'm not sure
somewhere.
Click somewhere on the screen here. Go watch that episode, because we really dug into condition reports, and it has to be independent.
Yes. Next one is just check that all the documents that you get in from the auction house is valid and is roadworthy, or gives you sort of roadworthiness in terms of the legalities of the vehicle.
Well, it's almost like the history check. Just do a validity check on the car. Has it got police interest? You can do this. AutoTrader's vehicle check in some instances shows you whether there's a police interest in the car. It's not always flawless, but do as many as you can. For sure.
Next 2 tips are really just based on money, so make sure that you have the budget for it. So don't go over budgets, and just have a set budget before you go into there, and make sure that you can cover.
Yeah, just remember, in physical auctions, if my memory serves me correct, you have to put down a deposit if you want to bid.
I think it's 50% deposit beforehand. No,
I don't think it's as much as 50%, but you have to put down a deposit. I think it might be $5,000 or something. You have to put down a physical amount of money, and if you bid and you then renege, you lose the deposit. I think some auctions work that way.
Okay, I see.
So just be careful.
Do you have to, once you win, the money has to, like, is it immediate payment? You have to cover the full thing, or
so banks, in many instances, banks are on the premises.
Yes.
So if you're a consumer, you can go and apply for finance.
Yeah.
Don't go and bid and then apply for finance and get turned down.
Yeah.
That's not going to help.
For sure.
So the banks are often at the auction premises.
Last tip is just understand the rules of the auction, and this is more so just for your ego. Like, don't go there and not know the rules and add R1. I think you'll look like a
banana.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. So that's auctions, and I think that's one way to buy a car. Which you can.
It's one way to buy a car.
You wouldn't recommend it, no?
I wouldn't recommend it for the consumer
to
go and buy on an auction.
Yeah.
Unless you really know what you're doing.
Okay.
If you do, and you understand cars, you understand steering racks, you understand how to look for overspray, you understand mechanics of the car, you understand what to listen for. If you're not that way inclined with a motor vehicle, you could buy yourself a lemon very quickly. And it's not the auction house's fault.
Yes, for sure. Okay, let's talk about private sales. So we've done a few episodes actually on the ins and outs of private selling. And AutoTrader has a few options for buying a car from private sellers.
So that, I mean, private sellers on the sell side. So, I mean, before we move off the auctions, buying a car.
Yes.
Best place to buy a car is always, I mean, come to AutoTrader, is really from a dealer.
Yeah.
Because the market is set up that way. There's recourse to the dealer. They have to follow the 3-4 R's. Repair, replace, refund. I think it's 3 R's. Through repair, replace, or refund. And you're covered by the Consumer Protection Act. They sell warranties at dealerships. And dealers are AutoTrader's customers. So, you know, do the research yourself and you'll see buying from a dealership is the best place to buy a car.
Yeah, 100%. Private sales though. So this is if you want to buy a car
from a private seller. Okay. Similar to auction, I would imagine. I would recommend. It's similar to an auction.
Yes.
In terms of the risk of the vehicle being tainted with something wrong with it. Okay, similar risk. The benefit of a private buy, this is not a private sale, private buy is you're negotiating one-on-one.
Yes.
You're not bidding.
Exactly.
Against someone else.
Yeah, so kind of, and you're not competing ultimately. Well, I mean, you're competing with anybody else who wants to, you know, get the vehicle.
Yeah, but it's not usually on the spot.
Yeah.
It's usually, you know, one-on-one at the meeting. You're there, you make an offer, you take the car, you leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, one of the negatives though with that is that the price then may be a bit higher than.
Well, the price is going to be retail because if you're a private seller, you're not going to be selling for trade because you might as well go trade it at a dealer.
Exactly.
You'll be putting it on instant offer.
Exactly.
Because then you're going to get slightly, potentially more than trade. You're not going to get retail, but, you know, instant offer is the best place to buy. The best place to sell.
To sell, yeah.
Is a private seller the best place to buy? I would say it is one of the places to buy. Probably slightly better than auctions, but not the best place to buy.
So if you had to go on a list of kind of the best places to buy, would you put buying from a private seller
in the middle?
In the middle. Where would you put auctions? Below that? Or
below that.
Okay.
Yes.
So auctions, private
sales,
dealers.
Dealers, yes.
That's definitely kind of the...
Because at least with the private sale, or the private buy, should I say, let's not say private sale, the private buy, you get to drive the car. You might, the private seller might let you take the car to a place that does a condition report like we spoke about last week. The private seller might give you more information about the car, give you its access to its service history via the OEM, and more information than you could ever get. So that's why I say the private buy is a better buy than the auction.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like everything that we always talk about, I think it's just really important to understand, you know, what you're doing. But with auction houses, I think it's. Honestly, I think there's still a lot of benefit from buying from auction houses just because the price can be, you know, you could kind of skew the price.
Yeah, I mean,
that's kind of the big difference.
We'll agree to disagree. I don't believe the 30%. Not in today's market, not in the buoyant market that we're in. It is a seller's market right now.
Yes, for sure.
So therefore, you're going to pay a higher price.
So if you're looking to sell your car, I think if we're going to end on anything, now's the
time to sell. But then you've got to buy again if you drive. So you're going to be paying unless you can really find a good deal. So, and then on top of the list, I'd put a dealer.
Okay, 100%. That's pretty much all the time that we have time for. But yeah, don't forget, if you're looking for a car, always just search AutoTrader on Google. And that's pretty much all I have for you today, George.
That was cool. Go Leclerc.
We'll see.
Norris.